You know, when you come down here to the Palm Bay area, there's a lot of lakes around here. You might need a little inside scoop to get you headed in the right direction. And that's what I want to talk about. Let's start with Lake Garcia that's kind of south of town a little bit. That lake, really good lake. You can start fishing right at the boat ramp. You could just put your trolling motor down, start fishing. But work your way towards that northwest corner of the lake. You know, they just had a Major League Fishing tournament down there not too long ago. Drew Gill and his partner won. They stayed in that northwest corner basically the whole time. After the tournament was over, I've been down there a few times. I kind of stayed in that northwest corner, caught them really good. There's matted grass. I caught them really well punching and throwing some topwater kind of around the mats. Drew Gill and them, they won that tournament, throwing a drop shot kind of around the edges of those mats. So not how I want to catch them, but hey, whatever you got to do. So Garcia is a really cool place. Next one, man, Headwaters, right? Like everybody's heard of Headwaters, 10,000 acres. The whole thing is habitat. One of the things you really want to know about when you go to Headwaters is since the whole lake is habitat, you have to keep moving. I like to get either a lipless crankbait, vibe jig, a spinnerbait if you got a little wind, and go. Just start fishing because it's all habitat. It's not like you're running to the bank and fishing along the bank like you might up north. It's all habitat. So you just kind of got to go and go and go. But when you get bit, you've probably found them because they school up on Headwaters very, very heavily. So start working around kind of in circles when you get bit and you'll start catching more fish. And then when you stop getting bit, just take off in a direction again and just fish till you get bit again. Most people, they'll fish too slow when they're at Headwaters. You want to keep moving. Another thing about Headwaters is some of the lake is really, really clear, and that's awesome, especially if you want to do a little sight fishing. Man, we've caught some giants down there sight fishing. It's something when you look down and see a 9 or 10 pounder laying on a bed, man. Talk about getting fired up. But when it's in the clear water, if you're just fishing and not sight fishing, you want to have a little wind. Wind really makes a big difference in that clear water at Headwaters. When it's flat calm, they just don't seem like they want to really chase a lot, and they'll follow your baits and not eat it. On the flat calm days, I like to move myself kind of on the west side of Headwaters, and for whatever reason, I don't know, but the water's always a little more stained over on that west side, and I think when the wind's calm, the fish just bite a little better over there. So that's kind of two things that you really want to keep in mind about Headwaters. Then the sister lake to Headwaters is Stick Marsh. Man, have I had some awesome days there. Stick Marsh is kind of cool too because there's really only about 1,000 acres of its 7,000 acre size that you have to worry about. Most of Stick Marsh and Farm 13 is all just an open water lake. But on the extreme southern end, it's all stumps, it's all eelgrass, reeds, round reeds, flat reeds, just awesome habitat. So basically most of the bass in the lake, not all of them, there are a couple little sneak holes, but most of the bass in that lake, especially in the spawn time of the year, when you're talking about December, January, February, March, maybe even moving into April, that whole 5 months or so there, all those fish are down on that south end. They're around those stumps, they're in that eelgrass, and they're super easy to catch. You can catch them on lipless crankbaits, you can catch them on vibe jigs, spinner baits. Worming is absolutely amazing. You go around and find the little areas that they're in with a vibe jig and then stop, put your power poles down, throw a worm out there, and just catch them and catch them and catch them. It is so much fun. The one thing you want to know about Stick Marsh though, when you're running down to the south end of the lake, you're going to come up on a big wall of reeds that's probably 400, 500, 600 yards off the south bank. When you get to that wall of reeds, you want to set your boat down, trim your motor up a little bit, and idle in from there. Don't run on plane anywhere south of that wall of reeds because, like I said, there's lots and lots of stumps down there, and you can definitely hit those stumps. So you don't want to run down there. So anytime you're south of those reeds, like I said, trim your motor up a little bit or just put your trolling motor down. Just start fishing. You're going to catch some fish. Awesome place to fish, Stick Marsh. There's just some giants there. And then we have Three Forks Marsh and Lake Lotta, which is right at the end of Malabar Road, right in Palm Bay. Go down there, put the boat in, you're just gonna see it looks like a bass fisherman's paradise. There is acres and acres of lily pads and sunken trees and bushes and grass and Kissimmee grass and there's pondweed in some areas, and there's mats and hyacinths and pennywort. There's just everything to fish. I like kind of the south end of that place too. Really seems to be kind of where I've caught most of the bigger fish. But that doesn't mean, I've caught some big ones right at the boat ramp. I mean, there's just fish all over that place. Most of the water is a little bit what we call tannic down here in Lake Lotta and Three Forks. So it's clear, but it's dark. So when you're fishing worms and swim jigs and stuff like that, most of the time that's what you're fishing down there. You don't fish too much stuff with treble hooks there because there's just so much cover. I really like from Snag Proof, I really like the Zoo Dog and the Zoo Pup. It's a walking bait, but it's a hollow walking bait that's completely weedless. That thing works really well. You can throw it right up in the lily pads and stuff and just kind of weave that thing through. Weevil, I think I just made up a new word. You can weevil that thing right through those lily pads and stuff. Bass just come up and smash that thing, man. Awesome place. But like I said, work your way down to the south end and that tannic water using darker lures like June bugs. Tequila Sunrise is really good. Black and blue, standard issue, man. Like black and blue vibe jig, black and blue swim jig works really, really well. I've caught some big ones. I mean, 8 and 9 pounders on a black and blue swim jig down in the area, kind of on the southwest side of the lake. There's an area where there's a lot of bushes in the water, and man, I have had some awesome days in that area, throwing a scum frog, launch frog, and a dirty jigs, swim jig, man, just get down in there and just catch some big ones. So much good fishing right here in the Palm Bay area. And the other cool thing is, when you're here in the Palm Bay area, obviously those 4 lakes are really, really close when you stay here in Palm Bay. But the other thing about it is, if you want to fish some of the other more storied fisheries that you've heard about your whole life, you know, Palm Bay, all our fisheries are fairly new, and obviously catching giants. I mean, Headwaters was rated #1 on Bassmaster Magazine's top 100 list last year or 2 years ago. But anyway, you're an hour and 10 minutes from Lake Toho. You're an hour and 10 minutes from Lake Kissimmee. You're an hour and 15 minutes from Okeechobee. You know, there's so much stuff within a short drive from here. And it's a place to be, especially in the wintertime. You get out of the cold, hook up to your boat, come down here, warm your butt up, and catch some of these big bass right here in the Palm Bay area.